Hello there. Welcome to Dillinger 101. What we're doing here today, we're going to look at these plants. And as I'd stated before, in one of my earlier videos, I'd moved some of these, like the kale, some of this, like the collards, and some of the cabbages, and moved them outside. Well, it did get to where it was down below 37 degrees. I moved them back in here. It was kind of put me in a little bit of a bind for room. As you see, I have some tomato plants coming up, and I don't think that's an eggplant, but that is, I've had some kind of plant, whatever that is, coming up in that Miracle-Gro soil that I bought. And the rosemary seems to be doing pretty good. I've got some Swiss char. If you look down here, it's pretty sad. Things just fell over on it because I'm being crowded for room right now. And but it's surviving. But I definitely want these pepper plants going because I can plant more of this out in the garden, right into the garden. I did get a little one basil come up here. This basil right here, I did get it to come up out of like, I don't know how many seeds I planted. Another season of having a little trouble with some of these seeds coming up. Now, I have some spinach back here. And here's a real pretty Swiss char here, this red Swiss char. I don't know if you can see that or not. This camera will give it any justice at all, but that's awful pretty. And I've got some lettuce coming up here. I've got some of this royal lettuce coming up. I planted in these and had thinned them out, and since I've thinned them out, they have started to take off a little better. And here's some more bell peppers that just started coming up. These are planted, as you can see, 315. Most of the stuff in here is planted 220 and 315. So, and you can still see a little possible bird dew on this leaf here where it was out in the shed. But anyhow, and here's some snow peas I planted way too early, really, as I always do. And here's some beefsteak, super beefsteak, planted on 315. And boy, it just seems like it's taking forever. And finally, some of these peppers are coming up and things. But so far, I'm keeping things alive. Hopefully, by next week, I can get some of these colder crops out, like some of this cabbage and some of the collards and the kale. And I left them in the old $10 shed, and it was 37 degrees there a couple nights, and it did not bother them at all. They just kept right on going. But when it got down to where it's going to be like 32, I thought, boy, I just need to bring these in because I just really didn't want to lose them, you know. But I have back in here some eggplant that just hasn't come up yet. It was the long, thin eggplant that I really like, and of course that's not going to come up for me. It may yet, but I've just had really poor luck on some of this the last couple years, last couple seasons, that is, of having some germination. Now these over here, these are eggplants that's in here, and some of the peppers that are in here, and they're they're planted. And here's a date on this, and this is a light in here. There's a super beefsteak. Just not up yet. Just not up yet. I turn this fan on from time to time. Don't pay attention to my mess over there, please. I've turned this fan on from time to time to let them blow on them so they can get some airflow, and it also strengthens their stem, so they don't get lanky. And the light, I usually keep it down a lot lower, just a few inches off this. Matter of fact, I just been setting it down and bending these over, and these have been growing past the lights somehow. But anyway, I want to thank you for your time. And if you'd like to know where these plants go and how they make it, if they do make it, and the ones that's come up here, because I tell you, I've had some beautiful plants and I've had some catastrophic failures. You just got to take what, good Lord gives you, what Mother Nature throws at you. But one thing I do want to say, I had gotten last year mites, and it was on the spinach, and it got onto my pepper plants. Now I got rid of it, but it happened again this year just on the spinach. And the ones that I just didn't deal with it. I've had very little luck on the spinach. See, this is planted 2/22, and I've just not had much luck with spinach. And the spinach always seems to get these mites. I've never grown or started my plants indoors and gotten mites. Now, I've had mites on house plants, but I've never got them growing a vegetable garden, starting my vegetable gardens in under the light until last year. And best I can tell, they say that it comes from the soil. And this year I used the same kind of soil, Miracle-Gro soil. That's what I use. This, and so, but I don't know. Now here's a nice little Swiss char right here. It's really done good. And I've been eating off this kale, off the collards, and the spinach. Some of the spinach, and they say I washed it off, and I ate it. Washed the mites off and ate it. Nothing goes to waste. I've got some collards here, a whole bunch of them. I need to take out and thin, plant somewhere else. This is one here, a spinach here that's looking a little lanky. But overall, they're really doing pretty good, because I say some of the stuff I've been eating off of, But hopefully by this, maybe within the next week or so, I can set them back outside again, at least for a while, till because we always get some kind of a frost or a cold spell right around Easter. Sometimes we even get a little skiff of snow, but sometimes you have those seasons where you don't, and you can gain about an extra 2 or 3 weeks in growing your plants if you can get them out there. But when it hits cold of a night, you got to get them in, and that's what we're going to try to do. It's man against nature when it comes to this kind of stuff. I had that poor Swiss chard down there. It just gets knocked over, things fall into it, and it just comes right back up. And I'm going to set this. Bell pepper mix. It was planted 315, and you can see it's just coming up. I mean, I just can't believe it. I mean, I bought, until the last couple of years, I bought seeds that they would come up within sometimes 3, 5, 7, 10 days. But boy, it just seems like seeds anymore just take forever to come up. And I'm a very impatient gardener, so it stresses me out sometimes. The peas, I always plant the snow peas way too soon. I didn't plant any green beans yet, because I always plant them too soon and they get way taller and out of hand. And I find that really, if you plant some of this colder crops like the snow peas and things right in the garden, and when they come up, they do a lot better. They don't transplant real good. I haven't had much luck at transplanting. I mean, it seems like they stun a little bit. But with all that being said, now these are a hybrid, a super sweet cherry hybrid. These were planted on 315. So these things you can't not. These were up like 4 days after I planted the seeds. All the same seed company. I didn't buy from a different, or excuse me, I stand corrected. I did buy different seed company type of seeds, not from the same company I bought from last year, because I had a terrible germination rate. Almost didn't have a garden because of it. Well, that's all I have today. If you want to if you found any of this interesting at all, and if you want to subscribe, that way, and turn on notifications when these start going back out into the $10 shed, and then we get them back outside again, you'll know about it. You'll get to watch them. You'll get them get a chance to watch them thrive, or maybe not so thrive. You never know. But I always like to think that I'm going to have a great garden. Always like to you got to think positive, but you still have to have some reality about it. But see, I want some of these cold crops out of here, because I have other things I do want to plant that I want up about maybe a foot tall by the time mid-April gets here, or third week of April. Because in this area, zone 5 that I'm in here in the Midwest in Illinois, you really don't get really good weather until about the last week of April, first, and sometimes it can go right down to the last week of May even. But and then sometimes, as the season goes on, you hope for that Indian summer, where we have a nice long warm spell that just easy for you to say, spell that comes in, and it gives you like another 4 weeks, sometimes maybe 6 weeks of growing. And that's exactly what you need around here. That's why I start pepper plants so early, because if you don't, they will never produce. They'll produce, but they'll never get to change their color. Like if you plant red ones or yellow ones or whatever, they get there, they put on, but they don't mature long enough to get their color. And that's what I want. I want yellow peppers, red peppers, green peppers. I want peppers of every color of the rainbow. Okay? Yes, because I tell you what, each one of those colors carries something in it that's healthy for you. Okay? Matter of fact, there's some of them. The seeds right there. Pack. I planted one whole pack of these seeds here, and then I planted a few that was some older seeds that were yellow seeds, and they haven't come up. Those seeds are 2 or 3 years old, and that's the way that some of this kale and stuff I explained in my other videos, that they was getting 2 and 3 years old. Some of them older, 5 years old, and I just need to use them up and use the ones that I got now to kind of maybe get me through next year or for another planting. So, with that being said, thank you very much for your time. And you know what? It's going to be a great gardening year. If anything, it's going to be a great day. Thank you very much for your time. And have a kind word to say today and tomorrow. Thank you.